Hi, everybody. We're live. It's here, Boxing Day, Christmas, the day after Christmas Day, 26th of December. Now, today this is our last episode for Speak Up Monday of 2022. And while I was thinking, what could we do? Marlo had a great idea of how about you do this whole kind of coming together, this synthesis of what has happened in 2022. Great idea, was going to do it, but then time. So I thought Bali, right? That's what this whole thing, even though it's called Destination Indonesia, it's centered largely around Bali, and there's so many foreigners here like myself and many others from all different parts of the world. And most of the time, I think we don't really understand fully, what makes Bali so special for us, what underpins that. And then going one step further, it's not only what makes it special, what underpins it all, but it's having this appreciation of Bali, past, present, and possible future. So with that said, this is episode 334. Yes, I know, 334. And to today, in case you don't recognize them, so we'll start in reverse order. So Marlo Bandam has been on the show before this year, actually, in 2022, and I'll get him to introduce himself in a minute. And then our good friend Erawan, the king of Kerambitan, has been on this show. This time was about 2 or 3 years ago during COVID with a face mask. That was a different kind of interview. And so, look, I just want, as you're listening today, to listen with the ear of what it is that you either don't know, don't remember, or is surprising to you. So listen with that ear, and I think you're going to get a lot of value out of today's episode. So let's start with you, Marlo. Maybe spend a minute or so just to introduce yourself so people have an idea of who this Marlo Bandam man is and what he does, especially with the Bali archives.
Thank you, Rob. First of all, it's nice to be back. Happy festive season to everyone. And I mean, being back, since our last episode, it definitely a lot of heated discussions, great memories. And just to remind the audience, I'm Marlo Bandam, and I'm someone that wears many hats. But tonight, I'm wearing the hat of as a coordinator of the Bali 1928 archive, which concerns with the repatriation and then the restoration and the disseminations of historical documents concerning Bali, especially from the 1930s. There you go.
Love it. And look, I think it's also related for maybe the Bali present and future. Maybe tell people about SpeakuP.
True, yes. I'm also the member of the Yayasan Widya Dharma Santi Foundation. It is a foundation that governs the operations of IT-based SpeakuP Bali, or the Institute of Technology and Business SpeakuP Bali, one of the largest IT and business institutions here in Bali, which is established in 2002. So this is also a monumental and a landmark year for us. 20 years of dedicating and being committed in the education here in Bali.
Wonderful. Thank you, Marlo. Thank you. And now we refer to him as Erawan. I think it's easier for us to say that, right, as opposed to the full name which you have. But Erawan is our brother here, the
True.
king of Kerambitan.
I would refer him as Ida Ratu.
Ida Ratu. So tonight we'll call him Ida Ratu, my brother. So please tell us a few words about you.
Thank you, Rob. It's nice to meet you again. This is, I think, the last episode for 2022. Well, I'm the 9th generation of our Puri, and I'm the member of the Palace Royal Family Association in Bali and also in Indonesia. And my father just passed away last April. And so I'm here represent as a family. I'm the head of the families in my compound, and also I have a foundation in this social foundation, and well, thank you. That's from my side. And of course, I will talk about the culture and art of Bali, and I will be happy to share with you what is Bali in our part, in our point of view, because Bali, it's not only hotels, luxury villas, and so on. We have our own culture, and the local genius is there. So I just want to let you know, Bali, it is a small island, just a small island, but we have so many interesting in culture and in destination. So it's very colorful, if I can say that. That's my name is a very long name. I'm sorry. It's Anak Agung, Ngurah, Agung, Bagus, Erawan. That is my grandfather give that name, and since my late father, so I'm the we call it penglingsir. Penglingsir is the head of the family, and of course means that I have a big responsibility to continuing the culture, the art, the tradition, especially in royal activities. Thank you, Rob.
And a few things which I'll add to that is, so the palace that he's referring to is in a place called Kerambitan. Now, Kerambitan is most people know Tabanan, that area, so that's the area. And I think it's the oldest, one of the oldest palaces in Bali that's in its original condition. So a lot of the palaces, the puris in Bali have been amended, have been upgraded, have been updated, and so on. That palace of Kerambitan, Purianyar, is still in its original condition as it was hundreds of years ago, right? Number one. Number two, so I was fortunate enough to be the co-host for maybe 3 or 4 events at the palace, which have been quite strong. One was, the most recent one, was the passing of your father, an incredible man, the head of protocol for Bali. And I'll let Erawan explain what that means. But he was one of the first in Bali to open their palace to foreigners. Mick Jagger, King Hussein of Jordan, Whitney Houston, to name but a few. So his father was an artisan, an artist. Yeah, thank you. What was an artist at heart, right? And Marlo, that we'll get into in a minute, is another beautiful artist at heart, as is Erawan. So actually there's 3 artists up here pretending to be something else, but there's 3 artists here at the soul. Another one of the events which I co-hosted was, so the lontar here in Bali, Indonesia. Now, what I say is just my version of it. It's not necessarily the truth. So if I do make a mistake, I apologize. But what I liken it to is a bit like the Dead Sea Scrolls that people in the West kind of have heard of, Oh, the Dead Sea Scrolls, I've heard of those. It's this extremely old writing that was made from the forefathers, from the ancestors, using with great wisdom of how life should happen, how things should be built, how things should go on, how people should be addressed, but also to the macro elements of life, like what happens to the economy. This lontar, which they discovered at Kerambitan, is 350 years old, written in Sanskrit. Yeah, and was being translated live from Sanskrit to Bahasa, then Bahasa to English, and then me telling everybody else what it meant. And one of these lontars that we pulled out was a lontar which predicted COVID. Now, you can say wow, you can say what, you can afterwards, if you want to know more, speak to Erawan. But it's amazing. Like 350 years ago, the wisdom was phenomenal, as it still is today. So that's a very important part of it all. And the last thing I would say is that during this ceremonial cremation of his father, it was an 11-hour ceremony. So if anyone would have asked me, Rob, you're going to be co-hosting this ceremony. It's going to have all the different elements: earth, fire, water, air. It's going to be 11 hours long. You're not going to be tired at all. You're going to be dancing at some point. You might even be singing. You're going to feel energized. You're going to feel inspired. And you're going to feel part of something a great deal larger than yourself, or what you can even imagine. I would have said they were crazy. But that's exactly what happened for 11 hours. And it was carrying it through the street, which I think was one of the first to have Westerners help to carry this huge stack throughout all the streets of Kerambitan, dodging lampposts, holes in the ground. I mean, just an incredible experience to be a part of, and felt extremely privileged. So even though he's a man of few words, there's a great deal, and we laugh and we joke and we're brothers, but there's a great deal to Erawan, as also there's a great deal to our brother Marlo. So I mean, just to start this off, Marlo being the keeper of the Bali archives, as you mentioned, so if I asked you, as a Westerner, as a foreigner, not born here, but I love it here in Bali. I feel good here. There's a feeling, there's an emotion, there's something that just makes me feel like I'm home, like I'm safe, and rejuvenates my energy. Maybe choose the top 3, so we leave some for Erawan as well. And what would you say underpins it that people wouldn't realize?
Well, just from your experience and story just now, being part of the ritual and ceremony at Puri Kerambitan concerning the legacies, the manuscripts, you actually answered one characteristics that we have in Bali. We in Bali have that, special part of our DNA is the openness, the openness, the daring to connect, to communicate, to collaborate with foreign influences. And I'm not saying this is something that has been in recent times, but it goes way back. And there's always that, opportunity for influences to come together and, contribute to the betterment of Bali. I think that's the one important characteristics that we should do more research on, And we can go to the understanding of Bali with all its branding, The AG Camper said Bali is the island of 1,000 temples. Nehru said Bali was the morning of the world. And you would have Adrian Fikr saying that Bali is a paradise created. So, that openness created the domain for interaction, which gave, the Bali, the ideals of a safe haven, where people can come together. I'm not saying there's the absence of friction or conflicts, but the idea that we can come together and celebrate an island that we understand as Wali, as the island of devotion, the island of offerings, and maybe in later times Bali as banyak libur, so many holidays in Bali. It really, puts Bali on the map as a destination, that is multicultural and, provides us with the opportunity to know each other better.
Thank you, my brother. And to you, Erawan, brother Erawan, so what comes up for you?
Thank you. Well, first of all, we are since 1650, so we are about 17th century. I questioning you, why you feel safe, why you feel home in Bali? This is my question to you all. Why? Do you know why? Because since, Balinese are welcome. They are very welcome with foreigners, strangers. But you have to know, maybe most of you don't know, why we have certain ceremony to create a safetyness. So he mentioned about holiday, many holidays in Bali. You have to accept this. Some companies in Bali, I know foreign company, of course, they will very uncomfortable with the situation. But you have to know, who can stop the international coming to Bali? Only Bali. One day, silent day, nyepi. All flight, anything, stop. Because why? Because we cleanse the earth. We cleanse our Mother Earth. We cleanse everything. We respect horizontal, vertical. To the God, to the nature, to the people, and to our Mother Earth. And why we doing this? To safety, to keep safetyness. The people come to Bali, they feel safe, happy, and peaceful. This is how we are. So even if you see small ceremony on the street, so mean it's like this. How they very, they worship how to be safety, healthy, together all. Even though you are stranger, even though you are foreigner. So that's, we wish that you will feel safe in Bali. That's what we worship. But then, from myself, from my family, of course, we open our puri, our palace, receive the guests for some activities, and Mick Jagger, David Bowie, Whitney Houston, King Hussein was there before. It was my father. He is very entertainment guys, and he likes smiling and happy all the time when he received the guests. So until Mick Jagger 3 times he came to us, and my father asking him, why you come here? So many interesting place in Bali, and he said it's unique. He said we are very unique. So Mick Jagger 3 times came to Bali, and David Bowie 2 times came to us, and also Mick Jagger stay with us. He has one room there, a very simple room, and he like it. That's before, in 1995. But then now, of course, it's so much different with the tourism, with the economic, politics. It is completely different than before. We understand this. But we believe, as we have many old things, many lontars, our Sanskrit, our how you say in English, the lontar.
Yeah, just what you did. It's that lontar that, it's written on this old, very old parchment. It's incredible. Yeah.
So I think only me, because this is now my generation, so I would like to open, to know what is inside our lontars. Why they make it to us, but we never open it. We never. Since my father, my grandfather, they never open it. They always say to us, never open till you are ready. ready means that we have to do fasting certain years, and we became vegetarian and so on and so on. There is a level, there is a step for that. So for me, it's a very logic, as I'm a young generation, and I said, they make it for us, why we never know. We just keep it in one place, and once a year we have a Saraswati Day, it's a knowledge day, and we pray, we clean a little bit, then put it back. That's every year, it's like that, once a year. So now I think that I have to discover it. I have to open this. I said to my ancestor, apologize, and I have to know. And we start, Rob helping us, and we call some expert from the government for digitalize our lontars. Yeah, we're still doing it. Not finished yet because it is very difficult, but they will try to understand what is inside, what they tell us about knowledge, about the power. We have about many lontars. So that's a glimpse of our history. If I can say, it's a long history, what we have, and also when my grandfather passed away, and I don't know why I have an idea that the bule, the expat, can carry on my father. So it was so viral in Bali, I think, because many bule was carry the tower of my father. And
Including
again,
me.
yes, and again that I think I'm the one that involved the bule carry the tower, because I want them to understand, to feel, not only taking picture and go home, back to the hotel. That's before. And now I want to let them to feel how they carry the tower, how it's feeling. Bring to the cemetery. From the palace is about 3 kilometers, 3 kilometers to the funeral. And also that is everybody asking me, why? I said, well, I let them to know, to understand, to experience. And yeah, that's good. I mean, my father, I know him very well. He like joke, he like happy, and I don't know. It is like a flow, and Rob dancing, and some other expert also dancing. My father loved dancing. He loved dancing so much.
The spirit was moving through. There's a spirit moving through.
It was more like a trance, I guess.
Yeah. So this is it's quite strange for Balinese, especially some Balinese. They call me, why you have a dance? why you let the bule carry the tower? And I said, well, it's naturally, it's just a flow like that, and their sympathy and of course they love my father, so why not? Yeah, somebody love to do this, so why not? Tradition is tradition, but we have to open our tradition to everybody. And last but not least, for if I can say, Bali especially, our last defense is culture. Last defense. Because the expat, the bule, the foreigner came to Bali, they knows everything. Economic, not politic, but economic, in the major things. They are everywhere. Selling the motorbike, selling the cars, villas, hotel. So they know everything. But they don't know our culture. They cannot do our culture. They cannot follow our culture. So this is our to be honest, it is our last event to protect Bali from how you call globalization. So you can many things can be transparent, but the culture no. I hope we still keep our culture as we can do. We can protect our culture, our own culture, and of course, it will be hard for us in the future, but this is our duty as a Balinese. So, why the tourists come to Bali is because of this, because we have our unique. Even though it is hard for you to understand, but this is our unique. The uniqueness of Bali is some of our culture. And this is foreigner don't understand and cannot follow us, to be honest. But other things they can do, especially in the business field, they can do. So that's my message to you once again. Why you feel safe in Bali, why you like in Bali, and why sometimes I ask tourists that they said, I find my ancestor here. Yeah, they said like that. I mean, it is our olden days is like this, what I see in Bali. So, yeah, that's because of we in Bali, we worship, we do the ceremony. It's not only for us, you know. It is for all who live in Bali. And even though small accident happen on the street, and then the next day they will do the offerings. Why? Because they want to say, that apologize and give the offerings to the spirit, to the earth. This something like this. So it is hard for you to understand, but this has happened in Bali. So believe or not, this is Bali. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Wow. You know, I remember when I found out the offering. You know, it's for all living, for the world at large as well. That blew me away.
It's the only one in Bali.
Yeah, it blew me away. So Marlo, one thing you mentioned earlier on that piqued my interest, which is all connected, is and I'm not going to even try to say it, I'm going to let you say it. It's better coming from you. It's like these three, and this to me actually epitomizes this past, present, future.
Okay.
So can you explain a little bit what that is for other people?
Yeah, I mean, let me add a bit more about, what Idaratu has been explaining to us about the uniqueness of Bali. And we can see that uniqueness of Bali stems from, our belief in the universe that is governed by the Hindu Dharma religion. The Hindu Dharma religion shines, the understanding about, knowledge, our tradition, our arts and culture, and then our language, our scripts, and it becomes, one part of the Balinese life that is so distinct from other local cultures in Bali. Now, when we talk about what you love most about Bali is the aspects of the Trihita Karana, yeah, is how we revere our relationships to the universe, to humankind, to nature, and all the energies below, and that, when we put the element of time, it becomes a swastika. It becomes a movement which becomes a cosmology in Bali. Now, in a sense, this cosmology can be defined in three simple material aspects in Bali. We can talk about a concept which is called the three mandala, or the three jurisdictions in Bali, which is the Pura, Puri, and Pasar. So what we have here is the representations of the Pura, Puri, Pasar. First of all, we have the Puri, the royal court, the palace. Why is it central in Bali? In modern days, it becomes the patron, a patronage. In modern days, we can explain that as regulations, as governments, But and still exists today is the central part of the royal courts as a creative hub, where knowledge is sustained, knowledge is preserved, knowledge is shared. Now, from the Puri, we then have, the homage to the universe via the Pura, or the temples. All these sacred places of worship with different functions, different segments, and there is this constellation that is supported by the people, the pasar, the marketplace. So let the audience decide. We do have the royal court, the representations of Ida Ratu as a representation of the Puri, of the royal courts, and then you would have us together, as a representation, as our worship via the temple, and we are also part of the marketplace. So there is no locality in Bali that is not defined by this. When you go to every part of Bali, whenever you visit a Puri, there would definitely, a Puri with all these big trees, all these big banyan trees, and it would be in the intersection that oversees, a marketplace, the pasar, and behind that, you would see that both of these components, become the pillars for the sustenance of the Hindu Dharma religion via the temples, the Pura. So this is one, geographical aspects, the management of space and time in Bali that can be a foundation in how we, perceive the past, present, and future of Bali.
Love that. Thank you, my brother. Oh, I can't wait to watch it on repeat. So I can let it wash over. So past, present, future. So we spent a bit of time in the past, right? Which is important. The land, because again you're saying that the Puri was the center,
yes,
right? And a lot of foreigners like me. Let me look at the camera. A lot of foreigners like me believe, that most royal families around the world, they've got all this land, they've got all this stuff, right? They're rich, right? Beyond belief. Okay, but here in Bali there's a different. Let's say something happened, right? Which means that that's not quite the case. So is it possible for one of you or both of you to explain what that was? Because it's relevant to where we're going to go in the present, then the future.
Well, to quote the great American scholar and writer, Michael Faulkner, this is one that I learned from my fellow researcher, Dr. Edward Herbst, when we were doing the archive. He mentioned to me that Faulkner said that the past is not dead, it's not even past. It's something, that made me think, that there is so many things, there's much knowledge in the past that we can still learn, we still can amass, we need to unearth. And then there's also the fact that there's a lot of aspirations that we want to achieve, and there's also grudges that we need to resolve, And, looking back to what happened in Indonesia and Bali especially, with the transformation of Bali as, as an island of kingdoms, and then the, Dutch occupation came, it became the colonial state, and then we had our struggle for independence, and then we embraced democracy, we attained, we fought, and, for the independence. We definitely, in a climate of political and social domain, there would be also changes in the laws and regulations. There were the time when, coming back to the Pura Puri Pasar, the Puri was the center of wealth. I'm not saying that everything was the wealth for the Puri, but it's more about the distribution of wealth to the people. Because when we say land is under the management of the Puri, it also involves, all the people, all the warga near the Puri, to become part, to cultivate, to farm the land, which bring prosperity to the whole kingdom. Now, definitely knowledge is also in the Puri, is shared. You have expertise, and every, Puri is the pattern for the Balinese, and with the democratization, with the revolution also in Bali, Bali has its dark past, his dark moments, and we underwent a time when we had the land reform. So which came in a time of turmoils when the economy was so bad, we had to depreciate the monetary values, and that also includes, the separation of kingdoms to state, which brought the idea of, land, is for the masses, But I'm not saying that it's not necessarily a bad thing in terms of material or physical aspect for the Puri, because the Puri still has the influence. Because who is in charge in directing and giving authority to all the ceremonies concerning the land and the temples in Bali, if not the Puri? So I'm not gonna weigh into this in terms of riches, but more in how actually the Puri sacrifice for the betterment of many.
Thank you, brother. Yeah. Anything you care to add, Erawan, or we'll move on? Yeah.
Well, he's a very generous man, and he's explained in science. But I'm here, I explain with my feeling. So that's the difference. So I really understand what he talk about. And yes, for me is I just continuing the tradition. I don't feel owning, but my obligation, my duty is just continuing what is my father, my grandfather done for the people. So, of course, I realize now it is a republic now, and we are not, even though before we are not feudalism, yeah, to be underlined, it's not feudalism, and we are not feudalism. We don't want, will be back to feudalism on that time, in the past, and of course we understand. We talk to the people. It's not like before. We are same chairs, same tables. Even before, it's not like that, but now it's different. So, republic, yes, and how we have a struggling become a republic, and now the problem is how we struggling our life become to the future, even though this is very, very hard for us because we have a big space, and it's not only the physically of the palace, but also the ceremony offerings, and this is getting hard and hard for us to maintain this spiritual way, the traditional way. But let's do it. So I never gave up. We never gave up, and we have to continue continuing this tradition and from my old ancestor, we try to survive. Well, that's it, Rob, and we hope this is at least have a information from us how you like, how you feel in Bali, and I hope this is what I said. It is make sense. Will be make sense with you, yeah. And yeah, this is. Thank you, Rob.
So thank you, brother. So the past, present and future. We'll have some questions afterwards for those who have it. So present and future. So present, we've been through this. Ideally, we're through it. Depends who you listen to. This 2 years of COVID or longer that shook up the world, right, including Bali, in a very strong way, being so dependent on tourism, which we obviously know and we've spoken about before. And then obviously we're here in this Canggu area where there's a lot of development going on, there's a lot of building going on. We also realize that in other parts of Bali there's very little building and development going on as well. So it's not that we have to say that, well, the whole of Bali is becoming this development zone, right? There's many parts of Bali which haven't been developed to this extent. But just putting all of these things on the table, and again, this could be a very long conversation that we won't be doing tonight, but maybe the 2 or 3 points that come up for you, or the 1, 2 or 3 points that come up for you. If I asked you, Marlo, starting with you, so the present of Bali, being that we know where we've come from, we know where we're going to get to the future very soon. So what would you say are some of the greatest challenges which are facing Bali right now, and what are some of those solutions that you've seen?
We've been seeing, rapid changes, in terms of how Bali under the spotlight of the world. Bali has transformed itself as one of the, if not the one of the greatest island destination around the world. And when we talk about, Bali in the present times, we cannot separate it, the idea that Bali still clings on to its past. And from my experience, managing the Bali 1928 archive, we have seen, in the past 2 decades, the interest, the keenness of the Balinese, especially its youngsters, to comprehend and understand its history, especially with the turn of the 20th century that brought about all of these massive changes, not only in terms of the Balinese people, but also the Balinese landscape, to the island itself, So they are at that point, trying to get a hold on to all of this progress, the rise of tourism has brought, the influx of people that brought about, economic, I'm not going to say economic prosperity for all, but, there has been, a new level of middle class Bali, from this tourism, and which brought about, how the Balinese would react upon to their present and their future. So, for me, is how to bring relevance to Balinese past, to Balinese present, and later we will talk about, how we foresee its future. And that is why we have been, amassing a lot of historical documents from abroad, bringing it back, as raw material, as raw as data, not information. So the Balinese can start to learn, access, and then learn from their own perspectives. So it becomes the seasons of alternative history based on the perspective of the Balinese. And with all of these historical documents, and also with all of these readings, publications, findings that has been done about Bali from influential academics and foreigners, you know. For once, you know, we have the same material that we can enrich, you know, and give our say. And it has been fruitful for us. And now, in this decade of Industrial Revolution 4.0, you know, the utilization of technology has brought about, you know, this discourse, you know, this openness, this scientific, this scholarly discourse about Bali's past. And this is good. You know, we have all the, you know, we're amassing, you know, interests about Bali, especially in all these decades, you know, 1910. I mean, let's go back to 1906, you know. I've been talking about the openness of Bali, but, you know, you also have to remember the heroism of the Balinese warriors during the Puputan Badung, you know. And then, you know, we have the Puputan Margarana, we have the Puputan Klungkung, Puputan Jagaraga, when the Balinese, you know, came out and said, it's better just to die Paris instead becoming slaves. You know, let's just greet all of these, you know, hot lead, the cannons, you know, with bravery to sacrifice for motherland Bali. You know, that we still have that, you know. So this is the idea that what we want to give the opportunity organically for the Balinese to understand about Bali through their own perspective. And this could be one of the fundamental steps in, you know, assessing what is happening or would happen to Bali in the near future. You know, definitely globalization would have an impact. That's an external forces, you know, which brought all of this economic drive, and you would have, you know, the advancements of technologies, which also become a external factor in, you know, both in positive and negative ways for any culture.
Thank you, Brother Mala. Appreciate you, brother. Erawan, so what comes up for you? And it can be one thing that is top of mind, you know, in this present of Bali, some of the biggest challenges and how to overcome them. Or if we haven't overcome it, what you believe we must do to overcome it, in whichever area comes up for you.
Yes. Well, as the way how we, of course, back to the culture, as much as we can in the present, how we maintain, how we take care of our culture, then I'm sure Bali is still a unique place. But then in the present, with the IT, with the technology, things will be happen. So this is, to be honest, from my side, I have a little bit worry about this, and even some people, especially in the spiritual way, they try to do something spiritual for this, to a little bit against the technology, developing of the technology. So it is very challenging for us how we see the future, and especially we hope also our government will be doing right, of course, and Bali has its own unique compared to other island in Indonesia, and some issue today it is we have a time, I think, on 31st that to meet the minister. So you are free to ask him about the role, about the regulation, new regulation, and everything. So you can ask him direct. So, so that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. I mean, one of the important parts of what you're saying, because I understand it's not an easy position to be in. So we're organizing a high-level meeting, 20, 25 people only, with one of the ministers, as Erawan just mentioned. And part of that is about, how can we, as foreigners, as guests, come, co-elevate. I use that word a lot deliberately, collaborate, and create things in a way that is harmonious, right? A way which Terihita Kanana is the way, right? So there's a lot of work that Erawan does behind the scenes that he'll never tell you about, right? But I'll tell you about some of them, which is about this. It's about connecting corridors of influence in Indonesia as a whole, and how that can reinforce and ensure that Bali has a say in its own future. So on that note, actually, which is coming into the future, we had a discussion earlier on about, Marla, we had this, all of us did, but this discussion about how brilliant, right? Brilliant. Many Balinese are standouts in their field on a global level. And the culture of Bali isn't, we mentioned that word show off. That's not part of the culture. So in many ways, there's so much that's there that perhaps isn't being shown to people, right? But it's powerfully and important that people recognize and realize this. So whilst for the people here, I'm talking around in circles, I'm going to put it over to you, Marlo, to explain some of that conversation we had earlier on.
So there's this two sayings in Bali, which I always, come across doing our outreach programs because, aside from repatriation, the returning of historical documents, and then the restorations, one of the most important part of the archive is to disseminate knowledge. So we disseminate all of these historical, documents, and we're taking that offensive road. We go out there. We visit communities, especially where all of these historical documents are created. So every time we go, there's always these two sayings that come across that always unnerves me. So one is mula keto. It's just like that, So that really kills the why question, Why are we doing this? It's just mula keto, It's just like that. And then when you try to dig, more, the logic behind it, you try to approach it scientifically, in terms of the rituals, in terms of functions of the dances, this and that. Then there's going to be another saying, They would go something like, "Depang anake ngadanin," Let the people, value what you are doing, Just make sure that every time you have a stage, you perform well, So depang anake ngadanin, So let the people, assess and value what you're doing, Which comes back to the humbleness, of the society in Bali, of the communities in Bali, that we are part of this, communal larger society, When you ask a musician that is doing, that are performing, for a ceremony in the temple, and you ask, why are you doing this, Definitely they would say, not because I'm that good in playing I'm an expert in playing the gamelan. No, they would definitely say that, part of my existence as a Balinese is to become of this community and devote my time, my expertise for something abstract, the rituals, the universe, the devotion, So this is why, part of the archive is to unearth these historical documents and show the youngsters, all of these great maestros, all of this knowledge that has been, that we can consider one of the, one of the golden age of arts and culture in Bali, the Renaissance. When we talk about the 1920s in Bali, 1930s, when tourism came about, the community-based tourism in Bali came about, it was just only decades after the, the fight to the death or the Puputan, or Puputan Badung, and then you suddenly would understand that the Balinese would use and utilize arts and culture as a method of dealing and healing from the trauma of being under occupation and hard times. And what happened? Creativity blossomed. They changed all the kuna gambalans, the ancient gambalans, into a new form, what we call, that is still preserved until today, which is kebiar, because it's more democratic level. The art, because of the demise of all the kingdoms, the great kingdoms, the patronage of arts became to the level of the grassroots, in the level of the hamlets, the banjar. Then rose kebiar, lightning speed, the technique of playing the gamelan so fast, so loud, so energetic, as a response, of to unearth again that spirit of being that brave and open Balinese. So this is what we are going, and then we are open to, to everybody to access what we have, because to keep it short, the archive with our experience, the first one is that definitely we're, as what you have been saying, connecting the dots, just completing that cycle. And then once we have that, we have a good archive for documentation of what has been going on in Bali. It's authentic, it's real, it happened. We have photographs, we have film footage, we have field research, we have historical accounts that can be justified. So that's number one. And number two, with the availability of all these documents and also the openness, now the archive, has been so fortunate that the puris, the kingdoms, the palaces are opening their doors and windows for us to assist, in the documentation of the legacies of arts and culture in Bali using the technology that we are capable of. For what? To involve more and more youngsters, about research and development of the arts and culture of Bali. That new perspective, that modern, that relevancy, and then that contemporary understanding about, what's really going on now in Bali. And lastly, with these two coming together, I would go more in detail about, what we are doing is part of the continuity and change. We've spoke about this before, and it comes to the part that all of this knowledge is necessary to motivate the youngsters to avoid mula kito and the panganak ingadanin. By what? By creating new, arts and culture that is relevant to their heartbeat. We have doing festivals, and we have doing involving high school students doing the kecak. The famous kecak, the famous monkey chant, orchestra, But what? With musical instruments, with rap, with spoken words, because that's what they understand now, because that's what they have been exposed to, And our part is just to make sure that they don't go astray, and then just keep unearthing the local wisdom, the religious philosophies of Bali, and voice it out. So I think these are the great fun and definitely challenges that we are facing together, because as you know, the influx of visitors coming to Bali. Now what we have more than 4 million people. The population of Bali is 4.3 million, and considering the amount of motorcycles, I've lost count. Let's say 2 million, I can justify the 2 million, and you know, it just says that if we just decide to come together on one or more motorbikes, we can just really empty the whole island in one day. You know, that's how packed Bali is right now, which gives influences to the environment, you know, to the rapid, to the resources, and then to the rapid change of landscapes, and also our mindset. So this is, you know, something that we have to really identify right now, you know, with the help of everybody, you know, but the Balinese have to take charge and say that, nah, I'm not gonna just say mula keto and depang anak ing adanin.
My brother. Thank you. Thank you. Again, what I said earlier on was listen for the things that you don't know, maybe you haven't heard, or are new. I've got at least 5 in my head already. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, brother Erawan, what comes up for you on this question?
Yes, I think all is he explained already, and just from my side, it is how we to be act local, think global. This is also very important. And the youngster in the villages, and they have to think the same. So how to be act local and think global, and this is very important for them to realize who they are really, who really they are. Farmer love will be, you know, more love with the farming, and also the other society to realize how they are. This is very important. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, brother. So, question. So, this third mic is Sister Ayu. Yeah, there she is. Now, so what we're going to do is that we'll have time for, if you pass that mic to Ayu. Thank you. Thanks, brother. We have time for probably a few questions, and then we'll close the stream. And for those people here, we can have a few private ones after that as well. So I know we've got a few. So we've got Tri, Michael, Carol. Okay, so Michael's got it first, and yeah.
I just first want to express my tremendous gratitude and appreciation. Tonight was incredibly informative to help to learn about Bali. It touched my heart. All of you guys, it was remarkable how you interact together. It's beautiful chemistry. Marla, there was one thing you said that I really, I think, resonates, and it focused my gratitude, the humility of the people. I've seen a lot of cultures. My parents have introduced, you know, they raised us to be very culturally sensitive, independent of time or history, and so many cultures have lost their sense of identity and values because they haven't been able to navigate. You look at the near revolution in Fiji, and here I see this incredible culture that survived, you know, revolution and occupation and unification and so many transformative circumstances. And yet, throughout all of this, you managed to maintain your identity and your values and the level of respect and strength and courage required to do that. I mean, you didn't speak to it, but it requires incredible fortitude, a sense of community that I've never seen anything like it. And I'll leave you with the thought that part of the reason I came to Bali is because of all the cultures my parents, they traversed the globe. Their one regret was never having come to Bali. And so that's why I've chosen to move here, because I want to celebrate that. And I want to say thank you all for what you've done and what you're doing.
Thank you, Brother Michael. Thank you, man. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Terima kasih.
Thank you. So if you pass that mic to Carol, just to your left, yep. And then we'll go to Tri after, yeah.
Okay, I've got so many questions.
I thought so. Just choose the top 3.
I'm choosing one. So, and I'll ask that question with the caveat of my ex-profession, which was international expert in responsible tourism. and we talked about fears for the future, pardon, and worries about the present. But one of the things that many countries do in order to protect their culture is legislate in order to do that. There seems to be very little of that going on here in Bali. For what appears to be a little thing, but which for me is the first mark of disrespect towards your ancient culture, by tourists who come to this island not because they are interested by the culture, but just because they are interested with the price of the beer, and they just want to hang out by the beach and they want to get drunk. And there is a lot of tourists like that here on this island. But there is nothing that's being done about that, and nothing to address their behavior when they are loud in the street or when they are dressed in incredibly inappropriate ways. So I'm French. In my culture, there are things that we don't do. We don't allow people to walk half naked, or men, to be bare chest out in the street. It's not allowed. You don't walk into a temple not wearing the appropriate clothes. So there are certain things that I would have thought are so basic and still, have not been implemented. And I don't understand why this warrior spirit that we've talked about has not come back up to the surface, because I do understand that, it's nice and it's commendable to be humble, but in those situations, I really don't see the command in actually perpetrating and allowing for these things to continue, because it starts very, very small, and now it's just really encroaching. So what's your opinion about that? Are there ways that you see, do you see the world in a completely different manner from the way that I see it? Or are you, and sorry if that is a very kind of offensive question, are you being incredibly delusional, thinking that everything is going to sort itself out, where the experience and the evidence from tourism development across the entire world shows to be completely opposite to that? So it's like, when are we going to wake up and get into action when it comes to that?
Okay. It's Michael.
This one is Carol.
Carol and?
Carol and Michael,
Yes, Michael.
Yes.
First of all, I have to also express my gratitude to Michael, for your encouraging comments. And, in terms of what we do, the first thing that really motivates you is how passion, is contagious. Yeah. So we keep going. We get that a lot, about, that we do share, a common belief that culture to be respected is by experiencing it. And thank you for, to allow Bali to become part of your experience. So how long have you been in Bali?
I'm in my second trimester.
Second trimester. Okay. Okay. True. So I hope you've been going around, and to connect this what Carol has been saying, that actually when you go around Bali now, there is this same belief, same idea that Bali, whatever that's been going on in Bali, whatever we cherish, whatever we revere, comes back to one thing: the environment. Yeah. So our arts and culture is a response to the blessings of the universe. So that is why you have the devotion through rituals, through the arts, and in all its genres. And now we have come to the stage that we can really do a scientific understanding of that mindset of the environment. It's not only a big jargon, part of the Trihita Karana. It's not only a part of the explanation of the Desa Kala Patra. Desa is space, places. And then you would have Kala is time, and Patra is the conventions. Now we understand that space-time is together. That dimension is integral for the Balinese art, for the Balinese life, which gives these new conventions. Now we have, in terms of the ideals, we do have regulations that safekeep and identify the multicultural perspectives of the Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, the unity in diversity of Indonesia, because our president, Bapak Joko Widodo, has been stating this in the international forums that, Indonesia's contribution to the civilization of the world depends on three things. The first one depends on the safekeeping of the Indonesian culture using technology, and in the framework of creative industry. We never admit that culture must be sustained financially. So we have this cultural industry now. The subsectors of this creative, we gave rise to all of these regulations. And just to mention, one is that really important is the Undang-Undang Nomor 5 Tahun 17 is the law number 5, 2017 about the cultural advancement. How Indonesians should revere and advance in cultures in four things. One is the preservation, and then the utilization, the supervision, and the development of culture. This is really groundbreaking legislation. And from this lex generalis or national level legislation is translated in all of the localities in Indonesia, which gives the protection of the Bhinneka Tunggal Ika. So in Bali, we have the legislation number 5, 2020, which governs also how, not only how the Balinese should protect, and advance its culture, but how the Balinese should relate its arts and culture to the changing of times, which includes how we engage with other people. So this is nice because the legislation outlines how Balinese dance are performed in hotels, in restaurants. We're talking about copyrights, we're talking about licensing, we're talking about the relations between capital and culture. So this is good, yeah? And now it's just the idea of the enforcement, And the best way to enforce this is just by going out there, I play my small part, and many in Bali is also playing their part. We have a lot of organizations, we have a lot of associations that not only concerns about the arts and culture, but more importantly, the environment. And to give a breakdown of what is being focused on the legislation number 5, 2020, which is produced by Wayan Koster, our recent governor. He focuses on six things called Satkerti, the 6 reasons for prosperity in Bali. The first one, in a supernatural or Niskala level, is what we call the Atma Kerti, the cleansing of the soul through rituals and ceremonies. We must still do the rituals and ceremonies in all of its good essence, not to boast about wealth, but to keep at its core. Number 2 is the understanding that Bali, the Sagara, the Gunung and Sagara, so the mountains and the oceans. So what's in between? It's in the between. This is the whole island. We have the Wana Kerti, prosperity from forests, from hills, from ravines. And then you would have the Danu Kerti, the safekeeping of civilization that comes from water, from the lakes. and the later part is the Sagara Kerti, the understanding of the ways of the water. Now, in our level, there comes two. One is what we call the Jagat Kerti, how we incorporate all of these building blocks, including crypto too, about how can everything be benefit to the mother land of Bali, that the Jagat, And lastly, how we could achieve this is by the man, the humans, the men and women that are in Bali, from what we call the Jana Kerti, from the search, the seeking, and the spreading of knowledge. So this is how now we can relate all of these philosophies in terms of best practices. It's just now we need to come together, speak frankly. There's no offensive questions when it comes to our, livelihood. And it just shows that, we do share that same passion and love, and definitely the understanding about Bali as a unique destination in the world. There you go.
Oh, Yabumba. All right, now I know that Carol has got more and she wants to rip in. But what we're going to do, all right, is this. We're going to hand it to Tree for your question. And then after that, we're going to close this off. I know don't need to go too long for you guys. And then we'll have Carol's questions privately.
Okay, thank you. I have question, a simple question, especially to either to Anak, Agung, Erawan. My first question is because you mentioning about your program to digitalize your manuscript lontar, right? And okay, but maybe this also for you guys or as audience. And in Bali, what we understanding about the manuscript, why as common people, you're not allowed to open it, as Idaratu mentioning, is because in the manuscript is written by Sanskrit word, Sanskrit letter, which is what I'm learning and so far, because letter in Sanskrit is not just letter, it's not just word, because it is contained of the very, very high vibration, which is like an electricity. The voltage is just too high. So when you are not ready to accept that energy, then it could distract your energy in your microcosmos energy in your body, which is the consequence is it could be turn you become like crazy people. It seems like when you have as a balloon of lamp, right? It's just too high frequency there. That's what so far I know about it, the reason why. And then back to Idaratu. So related to you want to make like a digitalize of the manuscript. Is it does it have the consequence of it? Because if it is open for the public, so what is going to be happen if let's say the young generation, as the common people, which is who is not ready yet to read of it. So and then is there going to be like standard procedure of it? That's my first question. And the second one is about, you said that many important people, many famous people like Mick Jagger, David Bowie, and so on, been there. And then you mentioning that they said because they feel they like it, they like the palace. And then is there any more detail, the reason why? I'm just curious because I believe it must be there is something like X factor there, why they come back in there. it must be there is something very, very interesting in there. And I think this is really good for the common people, and then they're just curious. Because even though as a Balinese, I haven't been there yet, but I heard many times about the Puri Kerambitan place about it. I'm just curious. And then the third one is back to the manuscript. What's in it in there? It's like mantra, secret mantra, or healing thing, or something? I'm just curious about it. Thank you.
All right. So 3 questions in one. Good luck.
Yes. Well, very interesting question, Pak. Terima kasih. Yes, of course. As what he said, it is very true. And before we open this manuscript lontar, we do offering, Pak. A lot of offerings, worship from the whole family. I ask the whole family, follow me, how we say apologize, but then we have to know what is your lontar become to our generation. And of course, it is, we only translate 2. One is, apa namanya? Knowledge about the usada, about the healing. And second is about, this is the most important, kewisesaan. Apa itu bahasa Inggrisnya?
Might and strength.
Might and strength. And this lontar, it is, we understand, we stress out, we underline, should be ready for this. The, let's say, the regulation before we learn or we read this lontar. We still doing this. And I don't want to be crazy, after, because this is all my idea. But I just be, honest. I want to know what my generation made this manuscript lontar. But of course, I will be follow what is the rule. Gitu, Pak. Jadi saya harus hati-hati, betul Bapak itu, believe or not, itu that is true. Secondly, why Mick Jagger, David Bowie, Whitney Houston, King Hussein? See, King Hussein was there, and many other king, Yugoslavia, I forgot the name. But especially Mick Jagger, we have experience. He is a real, authentic. It's not commercial. We are not commercial until now. To be open to you, yeah. It is. We don't want to be commercial. We just want. It's not. We make it, but it is natural. For example, our waiters, our staff. Maybe they are tired, they just sitting on the floor. And on that time I said, come on, this is not good view for the VIP guests. And I said to the staff, can you stand up? It's not your place sitting on the floor. Meanwhile, we have a dinner. But then Mick Jagger said, no, it's okay. I love it. It is natural. It is, we have dinner here, we enjoy the time, but then the people is, it's not hotel here, it's not restaurant background. So they just sit on the floor, meanwhile waiting for the guests have dinner. So this is one of our happen, yeah. This is one happen to us, and same. Whitney Houston also is very strict. No photograph, journalists even. She doesn't want if there is this. So she came with Bobby Brown on that time, and just three of them. So we have dinner. That's it. And we receive the guests as naturally, Pak. Jadi apa adanya, just the way we are. It is how we treat the guests as a guest from the royal. So this is how we doing it until now, and of course we have advice from our friends: never make website. What you're going to say in a website is just a commercial word. Come and see, visiting us, blah blah blah. So until now we don't have website, pa. So just our close friend, good friend, supporting us by mouth to mouth, and this is enough, pa. We don't want too many people come to us, so we don't have privacy. Yeah, pa. Yeah. So that's what is the third time? What is your?
Long time.
I cannot tell you. If I tell you, means that I read already. I'm not reading yet because it's not finished. It's under process, still on process, because they are very expert, pa. So they are from government, about 20 people, expertise from manuscript lontar, and this is not enough, pa. You're right, because it is not really just a writing. There is ilmu, apa itu ilmu ya? Knowledge and yes, and nature situation on that time. So this is very difficult to translate. They told me like that. So they need to discuss each other. What does it mean? What is on that time? Maybe they have certain flowers that we don't have it now. Something like this. Yeah, but thank you. Thank you.
May I share a story, Rob, concerning manuscripts, lontar, just 2 minutes?
Yeah. So what we'll do is this, right? So we'll hear your story, and then questions. Okay. So the questions would be, as a close, if there's anything that you'd like to see in the future, right? What would that be? And then we'll close this part off. I'll close off the cameras, and then I know that Carol's got a few questions, and Trisula has a few more questions, and maybe other people, and we'll do that privately. Okay?
I mean, for us, from our perspective at the archive, there is urgency for younger generation to actually access, all of these manuscripts. We have what we call in Bali the Hana Caraka Society and also Aliansi Peduli Bahasa Bali, the alliance of the sustenance of the Balinese language. And we have been going around, with permission, with the owners of all these manuscripts. We have been documenting, taking pictures, and then using technology, we can now scan all of the aksaras and then translate it into Latin, into bahasa. And why this is important and urgent? Because there's an experience of our good friends Ron Jenkins and Nyoman Chatra, who did research about these manuscripts. And first of all, in all of the great manuscripts, the first part will definitely be about blessings, homage, to all the gods and deities as a vehicle of the universe, definitely. And number two, there would be declaration, that the reader is stupid, ignorant, So that is what, it's always about the humility that we are accessing knowledge. So those two parts will definitely be part of all the manuscripts. But there are certain parts about the manuscripts when we found out it was in Indonesian language. It's just Indonesian stories in Indonesian language, which was done in the format of the manuscript. So this is why, we do have to access all of this knowledge, And I think we can play a greater part in that in the near future.
My brother. So closing questions, right? So we've dealt with the past, present, future. There's such a huge topic, but as I mentioned before, today was really about It's the end of the year. It's 2022. It's been a huge year for many people. And, we love it here in Bali. And I feel that many people that are here don't realize why. So part of it was for people to get a better understanding of why that is. And maybe to get interested. Maybe it's the Bali Archives, 1928. Maybe it's coming to Kerambitan Palace. But to get interest, to dig a little bit deeper than what they've seen or what they've understood or the people that they've had contact with. So then knowing all of that, it's a case of saying, well, 2023 is just around the corner. We have this beautiful view now of what's past, what's present, and a little bit about the future. But let's speak about the future now as not as this is what's going to happen, guys, but in your opinion, perhaps what you feel is likely to happen or what you would like to see in terms of an intention. And you choose whichever one is most alive for you.
Yeah, of course, it's a quality. I don't want quantity. It's a quality, as a second home, as a, healthy ambience. I'm looking for this. We all looking for this this moment. So it is for Bali. It's not quantity. Must be quality as a second home, where they can feel safe, peaceful, to live in Bali. Thank you.
2022, it's truly an interesting and engaging year for us at the archive. It is the year that we met, we connected the dots, we collaborated now. And this goes for many of our collaborations. And what we want to see in the near future, especially next year, is to really materialize all of these big ideas and concepts that we have been developing in 2022, not only with you, with everybody. And we want to talk about how we can participate in education, and also entertainment, and which brings, the economic benefits and definitely enlightenment. I see that we are on that pathway, for continuity in change, in how we are becoming more expert and adapt to technology, And we have been developing this in 2002, the later part of the later months of 2022, and part of the self-promotion, selfless self-promotion. I have to say that Bali has this capability and this capacity. One project that we are doing that I can introduce to you is what we call IDEC. Now we're elevating our game in technology, Rob. We're taking it out there. We're talking about AI, artificial intelligence. We're talking about machine learning. IDEC is a program. It's intelligent data analytical technologies. And you know what we are doing? We're mapping the movements of the Balinese dance and teaching it to the computer. We're doing machine learning. We're documenting, and I have pictures about it. One of the maestros being documented, photograph and videos, and we're doing all the codes for it. For the purpose of what? Imagine we can work hand in hand with this technology that can analyze, that can detect all the movements of the Balinese dance and becoming a notation and a manual that can be easily understood and taught to the masses. This is the future of Bali that I really want to see. That we utilize all of these tools for unearthing and excelling, the Balinese art and culture to, centuries ahead, Yeah.
Tonight has been fascinating for me, and what I've loved about it is I've learned so much as well. And I'm sure that other people that you're either here watching online, it's Boxing Day, it's a holiday. I'm really happy that both of you said yes, that you made it through the traffic, and you really did drop some absolute pearls of wisdom. Again, Bali, past, present, future.
True.
Right? So just want to round of applause, everybody, for
Yay.
our brothers Erawan and Marla Band.
Yes. To on behalf of three of us, I started with a quote. I want to end with a quote. And one quote that I really remember is from Ida Batara Pradama Sidaman, one of the great sages of Bali. And he mentions that tonglah karang sawah, karang awaki tandurin, guna dusun ne kaanggo ring desa-desa, which can be loosely interpreted as in the absence of land and rice fields to cultivate oneself with the seeds of knowledge that can be fruitful for others. You have been listening to Speak Up Monday with Rob and Anak, Agung, Erawan from Puri Kerambitan. Thank you.